It's past midnight when your card gets declined for a gas station coffee. $3.89. The guy behind the counter doesn't even bother hiding his irritation. You start digging through your wallet, fingers fishing for quarters, and that's when your hand touches something crumpled and forgotten. A lottery ticket. Bought 11 days ago on pure impulse because $600 million felt like a joke worth participating in. You actually remember laughing at the sign. Not my problem to worry about, you thought, feeding the machine your last $2. You almost toss it. But something stops you. Some stupid little reflex. You pull out your phone and check the numbers before throwing it away. First number matches. Your hand goes completely still. Second number matches. Your throat closes. By the time you hit the fifth number, you have forgotten how to breathe. You are standing under humming fluorescent lights, holding a crumpled slip of paper that represents more money than your entire bloodline has ever collectively touched, and the man 3 feet away from you is asking someone if they want a bag for their cigarettes. Nobody knows. Not one person on earth. You put the ticket back in your wallet. You pay for the coffee in coins. You walk out into the parking lot, and the night air hits you like cold water, except you are not the same person who walked in 2 minutes ago. Someone else is wearing your body now. Someone who just became very, very careful. You don't tell anyone. That instinct is the first rule you didn't know you were writing. You drive 4 hours to another state the next morning to file the claim. The night before, you stayed up until nearly dawn with 15 browser tabs open, teaching yourself words like revocable trust, anonymity statute, and single-purpose LLC. You build an entity with a deliberately forgettable name and make yourself the shadow behind it rather than the face of it. The lottery office feels sterile and surreal. A woman in a gray blazer checks your ticket once, then checks it again. Her expression barely shifts, just the smallest lift of her eyebrows, but that tiny reaction tells you everything. You have crossed into a different category of existence. Lump sum. $314 million after taxes. You sign the documents with a hand that won't cooperate, and when you walk back out into the daylight, you look exactly like the same broke 29-year-old who drove in that morning. That's the entire plan. Stay identical on the surface. Become someone completely unrecognizable underneath. That night, sitting on your apartment floor with your back against the couch, you laugh until it turns into crying, and then the crying stops feeling like happiness. It starts feeling like fear. Because you now carry knowledge that has physical weight to it. You can feel it sitting behind your ribs like a second pulse. The first week, you change absolutely nothing. You stock shelves at the hardware store. You eat ramen. You lend your roommate $20 for gas with a straight face, knowing you could buy him a car and genuinely not notice the money missing. You hand him the bill like it costs you something. That's when you understand the fundamental rule of hidden wealth. The performance has no days off. Every single conversation becomes a small act of theater, and you are simultaneously the actor, and the only person in the audience who knows the show is fake. You hire an attorney through a chain of introductions long enough that nothing connects back to your real name. You move to a mid-sized city where your face means nothing to anyone. You rent a modest apartment under a corporate name, drive a 4-year-old car paid through the trust, and become, by every visible measurement, a thoroughly unremarkable person. Meanwhile, the machine underneath that ordinary life runs constantly. Index funds, municipal bonds, real estate spread across 3 states through shell entities. The trust generates nearly $40,000 a day in passive returns while you're eating gas station sandwiches for lunch, which you continue doing because a gas station sandwich attracts exactly 0 attention. 4 months in, you make your first real mistake. You're at a bar with new acquaintances, people who have no history with you, and someone asks how everyone would spend $100 million. You laugh along. Then, because you've had 2 drinks and the isolation has been slowly hollowing you out, you say it. I'd never tell a single person. Not one. The way you say it carries too much weight. A woman named Dana, quiet most of the evening, studies you for a beat longer than she should. That's oddly specific, she says. You laugh it off and change the subject. But you go home that night and replay that sentence 50 times, heart pounding, because you understand now that the truth doesn't need to be spoken to start becoming dangerous. A tone. A pause. One sentence delivered with too much certainty. People notice things you never gave them credit for noticing before you had something to hide. You stop drinking around people you can't fully read. You build a slightly duller, slightly more forgettable version of yourself, almost by accident. Someone who never says anything interesting enough to repeat. 6 months pass. Then 8. Dana calls. Her name on your screen makes your stomach drop the way it does when a police car slides in behind you on the highway, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. At a mutual friend's birthday, she finds you near the kitchen, smiling casually. Funny thing, she says. There was an anonymous trust that claimed a massive jackpot a few states over, filed right around the time you moved here. Every cell in your body goes ice cold. People do that constantly, you say. Your voice holds. Barely sure, she says. Just thought it was interesting. She drops it. You don't. You spend 3 weeks quietly dismantling your own paperwork in your head, searching for any thread that could be traced from a public filing back to your actual name. There isn't one. The attorney was thorough. Dana was guessing, and a sharp, unsettling guess is still just a guess. But this is the moment you finally understand what you're actually doing here. Secrecy isn't a decision you made once in a parking lot. It's a practice, a daily discipline. One careless sentence, one moment of wanting credit for what you've actually built, and everything collapses inward. You make quiet moves after that. Real ones. Your mother's mortgage disappears, paid through a fake regional assistance fund your attorney structures specifically for this purpose. She calls you sobbing, completely overwhelmed. You act surprised. You tell her how wonderful that is. You stay on the phone for 20 minutes performing shock and joy, while the actual source of her relief sits on the other end. Smiling and hating how naturally the lie comes now. You fund your sister's tuition anonymously. You establish college funds for your niece and nephew, untraceable for at least a decade. You take a real job again, because a 29-year-old with no visible income and no explanation for it draws more questions than one who just works somewhere normal. You become legitimately good at the job. You start to genuinely enjoy the ordinary rhythm of it. The meetings, the coffee complaints, the packed lunches, all while your net worth compounds quietly behind a wall nobody can see through. From the outside, you look like someone who is doing fine. Not wealthy, just fine. Inside, you carry the daily weight of knowing you could permanently change 10 lives with a single phone call and choosing. Every single morning, not to. 18 months after the gas station, you meet someone. real feelings. The kind you'd forgotten were still available to you. 4 months in, the question begins keeping you awake every night. You watch her across dinner tables, fully present, laughing, talking about her day, and you sit across from her running silent calculations about whether she is someone the secret could survive. The version of you that existed before that ticket would have told her everything on the second date. Giddy, reckless, completely unguarded. This version sits very still and measures things. You still don't have an answer because there isn't a clean one. There's only the same impossible question you first asked yourself standing in that parking lot at midnight, except now the question has a face. A laugh. Something that has started feeling dangerously close to love. So here's where it actually lands. You are holding more than $300 million behind a wall of legal structures and careful performances and small daily sacrifices that have cost you, in very real ways, the ability to be fully known by anyone you care about. And someone who has no idea about any of it is sitting across from you tonight. Do you finally say it out loud? Or do you let the silence protect you for one more year, knowing the longer you wait, the more the truth starts to feel less like a secret and more like a betrayal? You can't ask anyone else. That's the whole problem.